The red light turned yellow, then red again. Traffic in the city's industrial zone crawled like a tired serpent. Horns blared. Exhaust fumes lingered in the air. On the corner, next to a rundown food cart at a newspaper stand no one read anymore, stood a little girl, no more than 7. Her name was Mira, barefoot, with smudges on her cheeks and a water bottle filled with soapy water in one hand and a rag in the other. Mira darted toward windshields when cars slowed. Some waved her off. Others tossed coins without looking. She never begged. She only worked. She had one goal, earn enough to buy her mother's medicine before the cough got worse. Across the intersection, a black, bulletproof Bentley rolled to a quiet stop. Inside sat Ethan Crane, one of the city's youngest self-made CEOs, brilliant, rich, and utterly alone. At 35, his world was made of numbers, mergers, and silence. He wasn't cruel. He was numb. Then the child knocked on his window. "Clean, sir?" she asked, eyes wide, voice soft but hopeful. He almost waved her off, until he noticed the bruises on her ankle, the dirt under her nails, and the pride in her chin. She wasn't begging. She was working. He lowered the window slightly. "You don't look old enough to work," he said flatly. She gave a shy smile. "My mom's sick. I have to." "I'm strong. Promise." And before he could stop her, she wiped his windshield with gentle, practiced hands. Then she ran to the next car. Ethan watched, strangely shaken. When the light turned green, he didn't drive off. He pulled over and watched her until dusk. The sun dipped behind the crumbling rooftops of the inner city, casting long shadows over Mira's small frame as she packed away her cloth and water bottle. Her thin arms trembled from the day's work, but she didn't complain. She had earned 243 rupees. It wasn't enough, but it would help her mother breathe for one more day. Ethan sat silently in his car, watching. There were cameras in his company boardrooms, artificial intelligence in his home, but no software could explain the strange ache in his chest. Since that little girl had wiped his windshield with the focus of someone fighting to survive. He didn't plan to follow her, but he did. Mira didn't notice the sleek black Bentley trailing behind her at a respectful distance. She walked quickly, darting into alleyways and across back roads. She passed homeless men, feral dogs, broken glass. Still, she smiled at every stranger who didn't scare her. Finally, she reached a building that could barely be called one. Its roof sagged, and plastic sheets covered shattered windows. Mira climbed 2 flights of broken stairs and disappeared behind a cloth curtain, acting as a door. Ethan got out of his car and stood across the street, staring. He had grown up with luxury. Expensive toys, imported tutors, private security. Yet somehow, that little girl's strength shook him more than any corporate rival ever had. Through a cracked window, he saw her kneel beside a frail woman, coughing in a corner bed. "Mum," Mira whispered. "I got money. We can get your pills tomorrow. Just hang on, okay?" The woman tried to sit up, but fell into another coughing fit. Mira cradled her head, wiping her face with the same cloth she used on car windows. Ethan turned away. He couldn't watch anymore. He walked back to his car, but couldn't leave. Something inside him had changed, and he knew he had to go back. Not as a CEO, as someone who'd forgotten what a heart was for. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. Not even the penthouse silence helped. Not the view of the glowing skyline from his 45th floor balcony. Not the imported whiskey. Not the meetings waiting for him at 8 a.m. Only one image haunted him, Mira wiping her mother's face with the same cloth she used to earn pennies on dirty windshields. The next morning, he made a decision. At sunrise, Mira returned from buying medicine with the few rupees she had. Her mother, Sarah, was asleep. Mira carefully set the bottle down and tiptoed to fix the cracked kettle for tea. But something caught her eye on the old blanket covering her mother, a white envelope. There was no name on it. No stamp, just there, like a ghost had delivered it. Mira frowned. She touched it gently, then opened it. Inside, a thick bundle of rupee notes and a small folded piece of paper. For your mother's care. No strings, no names, just kindness. Mira's hands trembled. Her first instinct was fear. Was it stolen? Was someone watching them? Was it a trick? Then her second instinct kicked in. Fury. She marched outside, eyes scanning the rooftops and street corners. Who did this? She yelled into the morning air. I don't need your pity. People peeked from windows. No one answered. Inside, her mother stirred. Amira? She whispered, voice weak. What is it? Mira knelt by her and lied. "Nothing, Mama. Just someone's idea of a joke." She slid the envelope into a broken drawer and closed it with shaking hands. Later that day, she returned to her corner with the same bucket, the same rag, the same look in her eyes. And across the street, hidden behind tinted glass, Ethan watched her again. This time, he didn't stay long. She had seen the money. She had refused it. And that changed everything. She didn't want to be rescued. She wanted to fight. And maybe, just maybe, that's what Ethan had needed all along. Not someone to save, but someone to remind him what it meant to earn love. The days blurred together. Mira kept returning to the same intersection, her rag damp with hope, her little hands red from cold water. She no longer looked for the man who left the envelope, but deep down a piece of her wondered why someone like that would care. Then, one afternoon, the Bentley returned. She saw it before she saw him. The polished shine, the tinted windows, the quiet hum of an engine that sounded nothing like the rickshaws around her. Mira swallowed hard, her fingers tightened around the cloth. The back window lowered slowly, and for the first time she saw the face. He looked tired. Beautiful in a hard, grown-up way. His hair was slicked back, his tie undone. His eyes, however, were the kind of tired that no sleep could fix, but they were locked on her. "Your name is Mira, right?" he asked softly. She stepped back. "How do you know my name?" "Name?" He nodded toward her arm, where she wore a faded bracelet with a mirror, beaded in cracked plastic. "Your bracelet gave it away." She stared, unsure if she should run or listen. "I left the envelope," he admitted, "and not because I thought you were weak, but because I saw how strong you were." She folded her arms defiant. "I didn't ask for help." "No, you never did. That's why I wanted to." Silence settled between them like heavy rain clouds. Finally, Mira asked the question burning in her chest. "Who are you?" He hesitated. Then, as if letting down years of walls, he said, "My name is Ethan Crane. I own Wolf and Crane Technologies, but that's not important." She blinked. "You're the man from the newspapers?" He smiled faintly. "I used to be in headlines. Now I mostly hide behind glass." "Why would a man with glass towers care about someone like me?" Ethan's voice softened. "Because when I saw you cleaning windshields, I realized yours was the only window that ever showed me something worth saving." Mira's eyes welled, but she held her chin high. "I don't want to be your project," she whispered. "You're not," he replied. "You're my reminder." He held out a clean napkin. "You missed a spot." She looked at the windshield, then smiled, just slightly, and wiped it clean. The sky was pale with evening light when Mira returned home. Her pockets were emptier than usual. She had been distracted, heart still tangled in the strange conversation with the man in the Bentley. Ethan Crane, a name whispered in newspapers, now speaking hers. She carried a small bag of vegetables and a sachet of milk, her hands chapped, her eyes tired. But when she pulled back the curtain to their one-room home, her world shattered. The mama, Sarah, lay crumpled on the floor, thin, unmoving, lips tinged gray. "Oh, Mama!" Mira screamed. She dropped everything and rushed forward. Her mother's body was hot, feverish, and yet her fingers were ice cold. Mira shook her, sobbing, begging, "Wake up, Mama, please. I got the milk." But Sarah didn't stir. Mira didn't think. She ran. The city blurred around her as she sprinted barefoot toward the intersection, toward the only person she could think of. Her voice cracked in the air as she reached the road. "Mr. Ethan. Mr. Ethan, please." A horn blared. Tires screeched. And the black Bentley pulled up within seconds. Ethan leapt out, panic already on his face. "Mira," she gasped, trying to catch her breath. Mama. She fell. She's not waking up." He didn't wait. Get in. He picked her up and carried her into the back seat as his driver floored the engine. The hospital was private, elite. No one questioned Ethan's arrival. Within minutes, Sarah was admitted. Mira sat curled in a leather chair, shivering as a nurse brought her warm soup and wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. Ethan stayed close but quiet. He didn't try to speak. He didn't try to explain. He just stayed. 2 hours later, the doctor came out. She's severely anemic, dehydrated, and had a near syncope from exhaustion, but she's stable now. Mira burst into tears, her small body folding forward in silent sobs. Ethan knelt beside her. "Is she okay?" Mira looked at him through wet lashes. "Why are you still here?" His answer came without hesitation. "Well, because no one should face fear like that alone. Not even the bravest little girl in this city." And in that moment, Mira didn't see a billionaire. She saw a man with pain in his eyes and space in his heart. 2 days later, Sarah was discharged. Ethan arranged everything: the prescriptions, the car, the quiet dignity of leaving through the back to avoid hospital stairs. He didn't ask permission. He simply told Mira, "You're both coming with me, just until your mother is better." Mira had hesitated at first, but Sarah, still too weak to protest, looked at the man who had paid for her medicine and whispered, "We'll go, if only for her sake." Their arrival at Ethan's mansion was like a scene from another world. White marble floors, tall glass walls that caught the afternoon sun like diamonds. A grand piano sat untouched near a fireplace that crackled softly. For the first few hours, Mira simply tiptoed from room to room, running her fingers over smooth furniture like it was made of clouds. Ethan watched her from the doorway. He hadn't realized how quiet the house had been until laughter echoed through it again. Sarah, resting in a room fit for royalty, called him in that night. "I don't know why you're doing this," she said softly, her voice still thin but steadier. "But men like you don't just open doors to people like us." Ethan sat in the chair near her bed, his eyes fixed on the glass of water in his hand. "Good. We had a sister once," he said finally. "She died of pneumonia when I was 13. My father was rich, but he wouldn't pay for the hospital. Said she'd be fine. He was wrong." Sarah's eyes softened. "And Mira reminded you of her?" "No," he said. "Mira reminded me of me. I was the one trying to make noise in a house that didn't listen. She fights like someone who knows how it feels to lose." A long silence stretched between them. "She thinks you're magic," Sarah murmured. Ethan's jaw tightened. "I'm not. I'm just someone who doesn't want to live in a mansion full of silence anymore." That night, Mira crept into the guest lounge where Ethan was reading. She held out a paper napkin. On it, in purple marker, she had written, "You saved my mom. Thank you for being her hero. Love, Mira." Ethan didn't speak. He simply folded the napkin and placed it in his wallet, right where the only photo of his sister used to. "But you made me." He reached into his coat, pulled out the same napkin Mira had given him weeks ago, the one with the shaky, child-written words. "I'll thank you for being her hero." "I'm not your hero," Ethan said gently. "I'm just a man who wants to stand beside you. Not above you. Not behind you. Not behind you." "With you?" Sarah stepped closer. "Then don't offer me a contract. Offer me time." He smiled. "Every day for the rest of my life, if you'll have it." And she nodded, not because she needed him, but because she chose him. Mira, half asleep, stirred on the couch. "Are we a family now?" She mumbled, eyes still closed. Ethan looked at Sarah. Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, "We always were. We just hadn't found each other yet." Sometimes, love doesn't arrive in grand gestures. It knocks on your window with a rag in its hand and shows you that even broken people can build something whole.